and then I started recording that as well.
Yeah, I've seen one of someone who I used to coach, Elle Reed. She did one of these for her course. So someone who I used to coach last year, she's doing the undergrad in sports journalism.
Oh, right.
So she's done one of these before and put it on her TikTok, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah. So if you just keep your face, like your hands rough away.
Yeah.
Because what we don't want to do is go onto the bed here.
Yeah.
So just, you put your headphones in. So before I start going on this, basically just a whole list throughout your really.
Yeah.
Your life and gender and all that sort of stuff.
What, you want that now?
So
you want me to say that now?
Oh no, I'm still recording yet.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's just something that I've been aiming for.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So if I just start. So first of all, thank you for coming along for this. So just before I get started, I know well from me it's book coaching, so I know I could juggle quite well.
Yeah.
For the purpose of the viewers that may not be listening to this. So do you tell us who you are, what degree you're doing, and your job?
So my name's Matt Graves. I've done my undergrad within football studies, and I'm currently working as a football coach at the moment within the women's game.
So prior to your sporting history, you did cricket.
Yes.
As a football as well, or what was your?
Yeah, so I've been playing cricket since I was 8 years old. I've only kind of recently come to the end of like my cricket playing now after like 14 years of playing. I played football from when I was, well in primary school, from when I was like 5, 6 years old. Unfortunately, I had to stop playing when I was 14. I was a goalkeeper. I had quite a lot of like severe head injuries, so that kind of put my playing days to one side for no kind of like physical reasons, for more like mental reasons. I couldn't go down for one-on-ones anymore. I couldn't commit how I used to. I was finding myself pulling out of challenges, and for anyone that watches and plays football will know that that's far worse than actually going for the challenge itself. So I hung up my boots then, and really tricky time, to be honest, kind of like giving up a sport that you've played for so long through no fault of your own. Didn't really do anything within football until I went to college, and through college I had to do so many coaching hours for my BTEC course, and that's how I got back into women's football through Crawley Wasps, who I've recently moved back to.
So why in particular women's football, not men's football?
I think how I was treated after I gave up. I had no support from the team that I left. It was like I said, it was a really difficult time, and no one was near me. In fact, I was getting, people saying like, "Why aren't you playing? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to have to put myself through that through men's football." And then, like I said, through the college program, this kind of opportunity came up. So my dad was the under-16s manager at Crawley Wasps, and I was really interested in strength and conditioning because I'm an athlete, I'm quite fit myself, so I kind of took that route at first, went for the aspect of strength and conditioning, and then went to work within the first team doing the same aspects, learning from their S&C coaches and learning from their goalkeeper coaches. And then that kind of like all the goalkeeper and S&C stuff kind of parked and now specialised to the on-field side of it.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that does coaching, it gets about fire in the belly, sort of saying, this is for me, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, apart from your sports, you were a labourer as well at one point, I heard.
Yeah. So I've done many jobs to just like keep myself going. At the time, I've worked since I was 16 alongside like all the football and cricket and everything like that. So yeah, I've done ground labouring, I've done labouring roofing, I've worked in a warehouse, I've done all sorts to balance my coaching and my studies and all things like that. Just get some life experience as well.
Yeah, because all of the jobs we've seen sometimes in the last videos have always been like, trying to keep yourself fit and all that. So that kind of helps as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, massively.
Yeah.
It's like you're training without training. So, you've got like 50 kilos of cement on your shoulder, then, you've got to be quite fit and strong to be able to do that.
Yes. Yeah, I'm been stalking you, just think.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah, so you explained how you got into coaching and in particular women's sport as well. So you started at a pretty young age, 16 years old at Crawley Wasps
Yeah,
for 3 years.
Yeah.
And that was through the program that you were doing at A levels, was it?
yes, at my college, yeah.
At school. So after you left school, you stayed at Crawley Wasps.
Yeah.
For 2 years after that.
Yeah, so when I was 16, I was working within the reserve team and kind of like helping out there. And then when I was 17, I moved into the first team. So the aspect of the first team at that point was I was helping out with the coaching, and on a game day I would like run the line because they were at the level where they didn't have like official linos. So that was like my path into coaching. Then I stayed there for another 2 years. So during the first 2 years of my undergraduate and my studying, I stayed at the club, but it was getting quite a lot, traveling from Crawley to Southampton and back again. And I remember one game, like we went to Ipswich. I've gone all the way from Southampton to Crawley to then go to Ipswich to then come back, and I didn't get back until like 2:30 in the morning.
Goodness.
And we won the league that year, and I thought, okay, I was like, I'm going to learn even more next year, having been promoted.
Yeah.
So I stuck it out for another year, and then COVID cancelled that season.
Oh yeah.
So that was the 1920 season that got cancelled, and that's when I kind of looked to go kind of like closer to me because there's so many teams within the area. So I reached out to Southampton Women FC, and I spent the last 2 years there.
Yeah, so yeah, 2:30 in the morning, that's the sort of time when I get back from the pubs and the nightclubs.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're not one of those people.
No, people getting back, like my housemates were getting back from nights out, and I'm getting back from an away game against Ipswich. So yeah, very.
Go, oh, just came up to football. What about you? Oh, just
Yeah, they're
doing
coming
that
in.
one.
They're coming in, falling in the door drunk, and I'm coming back from from away games. So yeah, that was. I think it was at that point when it was still getting like that, and being promoted, the travelling was getting even further. And I thought, no, I was like, this is where I have to put my education first, going into a crucial 2 years of my like 4-year undergrad. So decided to move on, and yeah, I never looked back after that.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, you mentioned women's football at Southampton.
Yeah.
Which was the next thing on my list actually. But,
Yeah.
So you've done that pretty well. So you were in the backroom staff.
Yeah.
Originally. So was it just straight into the first team at Southampton Women, or was it like lower ages and then going up?
No, so
Senior.
I went straight into the first team environment. So I emailed their club secretary, and we spoke through there. She then forwarded me on to the first team manager, and I learned all my skills at Crawley, or I learned a lot of skills at Crawley, because no one knows everything within football as much as people like to think they do.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, it's really time that I learned some more. So I got hold of their secretary, put me forward to their first team manager, Aaron Smith, who is potentially one of the best people in football I've ever worked with. And it's
Say that on the radio there.
Oh yeah, exactly. But he's still he's still a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
So he taught me a lot, even in kind of like, I say it's a season that never was, because we only played 4 games in the whole season due to the November lockdown, and then the third lockdown come January time. And then the next opportunity came up to me to then become reserve team manager the season after.
Yes, at 19 years old as well.
I was 19 years old when I joined Southampton, and I was 21 when I took over as reserve team manager.
Oh, well, there you go. Got one last from that. But so so reserves manager. Talk about that.
Yeah, so it was a really weird time, to be honest. So there was a few things going on with the old manager. He decided to leave the club. A few aspects going on within the team, and we were coming back from first team game, and I was with another player, Lauren Cheshire, who again is still a very good friend of mine. And I remember saying to her at the time, I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it on." And she was like, "What?" I said, yeah, I was like, I want to take it on. It's time that I start developing what I've learned and start putting things into practice myself.
Yeah.
And, she was really, really keen on the idea. She was like, that'd be brilliant. Like Smithy can like mentor you and like teach you how to become like a manager at, 21, 22. I was at that season. And
Yeah.
it was a really, really difficult start.
Well,
So
because of COVID. Or...
no, not because of COVID. So it was a really difficult start because lots of things had happened before I took the job.
Yeah.
Managers like annoyed players, lots of players left, things like that. So there was at one time I only had about 5 people at training.
Yeah.
And that was quite regular until Christmas.
Yeah.
Fixtures were being cancelled. I was trying to get players in. I reached out to mates at university. I spoke to teammates that had people at university, and we managed to get players through the door, promoted under 18s in, and then kind of what followed was arguably the best the best season I think I've ever had in football.
Yeah.
We went from 2 points off relegation to 4 people at training to not losing a league game in 2022.
Yeah.
2 semi-finals when we played against our own first team in the Southampton District Cup, and it was just a magical season, and one that you look back on with fond memories.
You do, and it was quite interesting to see, when you put it on Facebook, that, oh, we did this, we won this, we won again, and then we won again, and then we won again.
Yeah.
It was just incredible to sort of follow that process. And then from there, because you wanted to try out yourself as being a manager,
Yeah.
and then you had some sort of mentoring as well. And from there, you went on to do a lot of things, and then you left after your undergrad at Southampton, didn't you?
Yeah, so obviously I finished kind of that part of my education, and I decided that it was time to go back home. I'd been away for 4 years, and obviously with that time and 2 lockdowns and all things like that, I kind of decided that it's time to go back, spend some time with my family, move back to Crawley. Like you can imagine, it was a very hard decision to leave the football club, and it was one of those days I always knew it was coming, but I never really wanted it to arrive.
No.
And I'm not gonna lie, my last game was very, very emotional. With myself, a lot of the players, a lot of my assistant manager Sam Cox, who was incredible at the end. He started as a very kind of like shy person, and he's now working for City Women. So he's gone on to do incredible things, and it was a very emotional time, but it was something that kind of needed to be done.
Yeah. So you went back home, and presumably at that point you weren't sure that you'd be coming back here for your masters. Was that behind the decision as well? The fact that you thought you may not be going back.
Yeah, so I kind of I looked at teams in and around the Crawley area.
Okay.
So I touched bases with a team called AFC Acorns in Crawley, in the kind of like Crawley Hawley, kind of area. I knew their first team manager. I also knew them because our first team played against them in the 3rd qualifying round in the FA Cup the season before, and they kind of been after me to come and coach since they were founded in 2018.
Yeah.
So I kind of made that step to go, right, I'm going to park the National League stuff to a side for one moment.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, right, I am head coach. It's my training sessions, it's my routine, it's my periodization. And at 22, that was a bit of a nerve-wracking thing to kind of, to kind of undertake.
Yeah.
But I only spent a short period of time there. I think I spent like 4 or 5 months there in total before now moving to my current role. But again, it's a time that I kind of look back on and go, it was it's really worthwhile. It's just a shame that things kind of didn't work out there at the end. And I still look for their results. I'm still like, when they win, it still fills me with a bit of pride. It's just a shame that things couldn't quite work out there.
Yeah, and you always look at things in a positive way, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. I think you've got to look back on the positives.
Yeah, definitely.
You learn from your negatives, but if you don't look back on your positives, then there's no point of working in the sport that I do, because it's such a cutthroat industry. You know, I think the average lifespan of a Premier League manager is about 18 months. So, you know, you look back on the positives with real pride, and then you look back on your negatives as learning opportunities, because you've got to be able to adapt and develop those opportunities, and that's what keeps you in a job at the end of it.
Yeah. Well, you're still not a manager now, anyway.
I try to, yeah.
It's very sort of like social, like media, sort of like press conference, just very straight, to the point. Yeah, you're learning very well. So, and now you're at AFC Acorns now.
Yeah, so that's the role that I've just left after a few months. So yeah, but yeah, like I said, that was a good but challenging time. Yeah, just things just weren't quite working out there as they were right at the start, and I was getting a bit frustrated, and me and the manager were falling out. And for me, I thought, well, this isn't a positive environment, a good environment for me to be in, especially at my age and kind of like where I am in the game, because I still want to be able to learn.
Yes.
You know, I'm 22.
Yeah.
And you look at
it's old.
Yeah. I feels like I've been in football for ages, but I'm only 22. So that kind of aspect of the learning and the development has kind of like petered out, and I was just getting more and more frustrated. So I left that role in November. I left that role.
And then you went back to Box now.
Yes.
The quality.
Yeah, so kind of back home, back where it all started for me, you know, back in 2016.
It's all in full circle now.
Yeah, it literally feels like it has. And you know, now I'm back studying in Southampton. It is literally like one big circle. But you know, Crawley is it's a club that, you know, even when I left, you know, it's always got like a big part of me. You know, at one point my whole family was there. You know, my sister was the backup goalkeeper for the first team. My mum was club secretary. My dad was fixture secretary. Obviously, I was assistant first team coach. So
it's like a family business almost.
It literally was, and you know, it's it coming up through the leagues from tier 5 to tier 4. You know, in an incredible season in 2018-19. You know, saw us play Arsenal in the FA Cup and National League Cup final, and then potentially would have won tier 3 if it wasn't for COVID. So it's always been a club that's got a big place for me. So yeah, it's obviously great to be back where it all started in a slightly different role as well, which is nice.
And when you left that, no knowledge, by the time you come back, you've got all those experiences behind you to sort of say, I can do this.
Yeah.
And more confident and everything else that goes with it.
Yeah, massively. And I mean, unfortunately, the first team kind of aren't, you know, the club's going through a massive kind of like transition period within the first team at the moment. But the director of football, Dave Cole, is still there, and you know, he said to me that like the 2 years away is probably the best thing I could have done, because I learned a lot, and then it was go to develop it, and now it's at the stage where I'm using it now, both in a senior setup and both within the youth setup of the club as well.
And so looking back at all of your years as a coach and all that. So what was to get, you know, in terms of the team itself? So did you got to some finals and everything?
Yeah.
What did you win over the last few years with all the teams that you've sort of managed?
So at Crawley, we won tier 5, which is obviously equivalent to National League in the men's game. We won that undefeated. We also got to the League Cup final of the London South East Counties League that year. Unfortunately, came runners up. The next year, we won tier 4, only losing one game, which was kind of like, you know, we'd just been promoted to the league, and you know, I remember the manager at the time, he kind of like sat down in the changing rooms for all the players' first game of the season. He's like, you know, this isn't going to be what it's like last year. There's going to be like tougher games. We're not going to be able to like turn up and walk through teams. And I think we won that first game like 7-1 or something like that. So it was kind of like, wow, it's like we're not here to fill in numbers. We're here to compete and win for the league. And you know, to put that statement down as early as we did was like quite a big talking point for us.
Yeah.
That year we came into the FA Cup in the second qualifying round, like I said earlier, and made the 4th round where we played against Arsenal. And
oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was just an incredible day. You know, that's that's a day that will live like long in the memory. And it's like Beth Mead and Leah Williamson, who are now like established internationals, playing at a tier four team where they had to almost get changed in a porter cabin at the back. So, and then we made the National League Cup final that year as well. Again, unfortunately, came runners up to Blackburn Rovers, who are now in the Women's Championship. So it was my time at Southampton. It was a bit like hit and miss. Like I said, it was a lot of stop start. First year there got completely written off. What should have been the 2021 season. It was just a complete write off. We started in September. Played kind of like 3 games in September, and then this whole kind of like tier system came in place in the UK, and we went into the short November lockdown. And then it kind of got lifted in December, but there were only like 2 games. And there were only like 2 games in December because there's always a break period over Christmas. I believe both those games got called off because of a waterlogged pitch, or it was something down kind of like those aspects. And then we didn't play again until May, and the season got declared null and void again. And then last season, again, didn't win anything, but I think that's the best season I've ever had in football. As much as the 18-19 season was incredible for all the trophies and all things like that, I think, that was the best season I've ever had of football, because no trophies, no nothing, but so many personal achievements for myself, for the players, and so much overcome in such a short space of time. The girls were incredible that year, and the support I got from Aaron Smith and Lauren Cheshire as well from the first team, that was just something else. And it's so good to see now the position that reserve team is in. They've now gone into National Reserve League rather than before we were playing in Tier 6. And, they're coming up against some very good teams. They're holding their own. They're getting some wins. And, the current manager, Alex, we still talk, a fair amount. And, it's great to see the job that he's been able to do with that team as well.
But it's nice that when you leave, you look back at all the clubs that they're doing now and they're doing better, and you're thinking, I'm part of that transition, and it's just something that you can't take away, isn't it?
To be part of the journey to where they are now is a very special feeling, and one that I will always hold really tightly to me in my career.
And so within all of that football stuff, you do a bit of cricket as well, don't you? So to fit in your studies, your coaching, and your cricket. I mean, I'm surprised you even got a job in there, involved. You've been, it's almost as if you get no sleep,
So a lot of people have asked me like how I've done it. And I'm not gonna lie, it was really, really challenging at times. So I was part of Solent first team here at university. The cricket team were in the Bucks Prem, so the top league of university cricket. They got relegated in my first year. Second year, season never happened because of COVID. And then for 2 years, we were competing in the second highest Bucks League. And last year, we actually won that league and gained promotion back to the Prem. But the way I kind of did it was, at Southampton, we had this fantastic sports psychologist called James. And I sat down with him at the start of the second season there. And we put together like a little plan for myself. So I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the gym by 6:45. I come home, I shower, I sit in the library or go to my lecture at 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock. And then after 5 o'clock is when I have like my social time with my friends, or obviously I've got training.
Of course.
The only day that kind of differed was every Wednesday when I had, the cricket training. So I wouldn't go to gym in the morning, but training would start at 10 o'clock over the Ageas Bowl. So I'd get a bit of lay-in. I'd then get the bus over there. I'd get a lift. I'd train, then come back. I do all my recovery stuff, and I get to my studies. And then obviously you have the social on the Wednesday.
I mean, that's very committed,
Yeah, it was good, and I've kind of stopped so much cricket now. As good as the university program was, it kind of killed me. It killed a lot of my love for the game that I've played for so long. So I've kind of parked that now. I'm currently training for a triathlon and to finish an Ironman. So that's kind of where my main focus is now, and it hasn't really changed my routine as such. Instead of getting up at that time to go to the gym, I'm getting up at that time to go swimming.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting used to it.
Yeah,
Every
exactly.
time.
And the first 2 weeks of this plan, I was knackered.
Yeah.
Like, I was absolutely shattered.
Yeah. I'm not surprised getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and I was shattered. But once my body got used to getting up at 6 o'clock, going to bed at like 10:30, 11, like it gets into that routine, and your body becomes used to it, and it becomes natural.
Yeah. Yeah, and then every time you don't need to go up at 6 o'clock, we're still going to 6 o'clock.
Yeah, you do, and kind of look at my watch on like on a Sunday morning when I count my lay-in before football. I look at, oh no, it's like my body's done it again.
Yeah. So after all that, what's your future looking like in the women's game? I mean, you're back at Corey now.
Yeah.
What's your future aspiration? Do you want to be in charge of a Premiership women's club? What's the dream for you?
Yeah, I think that's a very hard question because football's always changing and developing.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into the men's game. I really want to stay in the women's game. I think that's somewhere where I specialise. My coaching styles, my behaviours, all things like that suit the women's game over the men's game because that's where I've developed. But right now, I'm really happy coaching. I do a lot within the first team. I do a lot of their stats taking, and I look back at the videos and all things like that. My dad has taken on the under-16s management again, so I help him out coaching a lot. Kind of next season, I'd love to get back into the senior game properly and get back into proper coaching at senior level, which I'm sure I'll be able to do at Wasps. We're starting a national reserve team.
So this is pre-season in July.
Yeah, this is pre-season in July. So we're starting the national reserve team again. Whether it's with them, whether I'm able to work within the first team at the club. But yeah, it's something that staying in the women's side of it and just looking to keep going, looking to keep developing. I think for the next 10 years, it's a lot of learning.
Yeah.
And you've really you never really hit your peak as a coach.
No.
Because football's changing all the time.
Yeah.
So to put a plan in place of yes, I'm going to do my 8 license when I'm 30 years old. I'm going to be working in the WSL at that time. I'm going to keep going on that path and that aspect's really difficult to say. But within women's football, just learn for the next 10 years. Just coach and learn. That's my goals at the moment.
Yeah, and the resources from when it started to now with all the sort of view pictures and everything that everyone's done in the women's, especially Lionesses winning the Euros last summer.
Yeah,
and everything's just changing, especially for the women's game.
Yeah, a lot has changed within the women's setup, and when I first came into women's football, the WSL in England, it wasn't full time.
No, it was part time.
It was still part time, which for me at the time was kind of shocking to see that there's the girls playing at the top level representing England, playing for clubs like Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester City that weren't full time professionals.
Yeah.
And then it was only 2018 when the leagues went full time that girls have kind of gone, right, we can start to make a career out of this. And for the girls coming up in academies at the moment, it's such an exciting time to be part of women's football. I think the next thing that it really needs to take it to the next level is it needs a really big investor.
Yeah.
You're getting the crowds at the moment. The Women's FA Cup final has already sold 20,000 tickets, and we don't even know who's in the final yet. So, and I think the success of the Euros and the amount of fans at the Women's Euros really showed that this sport is going places. It's not the baby sister of the men's game anymore. It's starting to grow and develop. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it will ever catch up with the men's game. I think the men's game has been going far, far too long, and there's far too many investors in it at the moment. And I remember in my first year, Dr. Richard Elliott gave a brilliant comparison to it. And he was saying, imagine it's a race, women's football versus men's football, to where it is now. So where it is currently sat in 2023. To get to that point from the invention of it, the men's game had to run 100 metres. For the women to get to that part, they've got to run the 10,000 metres.
Yeah.
And that for me was, at the time, like I said, it was very shocking. But being in that environment, I think I saw it more firsthand than ever. Because in Tier 3 and Tier 4, when I was first at the club, we weren't paying our players. It's only now that Wasps have started to pay their first team players.
Yeah.
And that's Tier 3. That's equivalent to League 1 in the men's game.
Yeah.
Imagine a League 1 club not paying their players. It's not heard of because it's professional.
Yeah.
So when a big investor comes in and puts, a good kind of hundreds of millions into the women's game, and it drip feeds all the way down, the WSL, the Women's Championship, into the National League setups, that's when we will really see women's football flourish.
Yeah. And it's been incredible to sort of listen to your career and all that, and it's been incredible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me as well.
Yeah. There we go.
Brilliant.
Thank you for that.
Welcome, mate. Yeah, that's really good. Do you want me to stop recording this?
Yeah. So what's going to happen is what I will do